In 1988, Bloodsport turned a low-budget martial arts film into a global obsession. The kumite felt raw, dangerous, unforgettable. But what happened after the arena was even harsher than the fights. From fame to heartbreak, from global stardom to lives in silence, their transformation will shock you. Let's uncover who they really are, and how they changed in ways you never expected. Forrest Whitaker as Rawlins, the determined U.S. government agent tracking the illegal kumite in Bloodsport, was played by Forrest Whitaker. At 27 years old, he was the relentless federal investigator determined to capture Frank Dux and shut down the underground tournament. His measured intensity gave the film a parallel tension outside the arena. Born Forrest Stephen Whitaker on July 15, 1961 in Longview, Texas, he was raised in Carson, California, where a serious back injury ended his football ambitions and forced him to change direction. That injury redirected him toward music and acting, leading to studies at the University of Southern California. He broke through with fast times at Ridgemont High, strengthened his reputation in Platoon, and stunned critics with his portrayal of Charlie Parker in Bird, which earned him Best Actor at Cannes. In 1996, he married actress Keisha Nash Whitaker, and together they raised 4 children in a blended family. As his career intensified through projects like Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai, and later The Butler, the marriage endured decades under public scrutiny. In 2018, he filed for divorce, and by 2021, the separation was finalized. The story took a painful turn when Keisha Nash passed away in 2023, a loss that reshaped how their long partnership would be remembered. His health battles unfolded alongside his achievements. Whitaker has lived with diabetes while continuing physically demanding roles and dramatic weight transformations, particularly during The Last King of Scotland. He also has hereditary ptosis in his left eye, a condition that affects his vision and became a defining feature of his screen presence. In 2026, Forrest Whitaker is 65 years old. He continues acting in major productions, including long-running roles in series like Godfather of Harlem and appearances within the Star Wars universe. His estimated net worth stands at around $25 million, earned through acting, directing, producing, and humanitarian initiatives. Jean-Claude Van Damme as Frank Dux. Frank Dux, the American Army captain who fights in the underground kumite and Bloodsport, was played by Jean-Claude Van Damme. At 28 years old, his athleticism and intensity turned a modest production into a global hit. That performance made him one of the most recognizable action stars of his generation. Born Jean-Claude Camille François Van Varenberg on October 18, 1960, in Berchem-Saint-Agathe, Brussels, Belgium, he grew up small, shy, and frequently bullied. His father, Eugène Van Varenberg, placed him in Shotokan karate at 10, and the discipline reshaped his future. By his late teens, he had won the European Professional Karate Association Championship and the Mr. Belgium bodybuilding title. In 1982, he left Belgium for Hollywood with limited savings, working as a driver and bouncer while chasing auditions. After small roles, Bloodsport changed everything, and films like Kickboxer and Universal Soldier quickly confirmed his box office power. His marriages were as intense as his career. He married Maria Rodriguez, then Cynthia Derderian, and later bodybuilder Gladys Portuguese, with whom he had 2 children, Christopher and Bianca. After divorcing Gladys, he married actress Darcy Lapierre in 1994 and had a son, Nicholas, but that marriage collapsed amid public admissions of infidelity. In 1999, he remarried Gladys Portuguese, a reunion that drew attention worldwide. Behind the action image, his life spiraled. In the mid-1990s, he developed a heavy cocaine addiction while filming back-to-back projects. By 1998, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder after years of severe mood swings that disrupted his career and relationships. His popularity declined sharply before he stunned critics with JCVD in 2008, playing a vulnerable version of himself, and later revived his image as the villain in The Expendables 2. As of 2026, Jean-Claude Van Damme is 66 years old. He continues acting in selected films, voice projects, and international appearances while speaking openly about mental health. His estimated net worth is around $30 million, built from decades of global box office success and endorsements. Bolo Yeung, as Chong Li, the undefeated Kumite champion and merciless final opponent in Bloodsport, was played by Bolo Yeung. At 42 years old, he was the film's dominant antagonist, the reigning fighter whose brutality defined the stakes of the tournament. His physical presence and silent menace made him one of the most feared villains in martial arts cinema. Born Yeung Si on July 3, 1946, in Guangzhou, China, he grew up during political turmoil and economic hardship before relocating to Hong Kong. He began martial arts training at 10 and later turned to bodybuilding, winning the Mr. Hong Kong title and holding it for 10 consecutive years. His muscular build opened doors in film, leading to early work with Shaw Brothers Studios and his international breakthrough alongside Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. He married and raised children, including David Yeung, Danny Yeung, and Deborah Yeung, keeping family life largely private despite global recognition. While audiences associated him with violence and intimidation on screen, his personal life remained centered on stability and discipline. Throughout the 1990s, he continued working in action films, often cast as the imposing adversary whose presence elevated the hero's challenge. With age, the physical demands of decades in martial arts and bodybuilding became unavoidable. He gradually reduced his film appearances, focusing more on fitness and selective projects rather than constant production. The same strength that once defined him in Bloodsport required careful maintenance as he entered later life. In 2026, Bolo Yeung is 80 years old. He remains respected within martial arts cinema history and occasionally appears at fan events and public appearances. His estimated net worth is around $1.5 million, built through bodybuilding titles, film roles, and international recognition. Norman Burton, as Helmer, the senior U.S. official determined to stop the illegal Kumite in Bloodsport, was played by Norman Burton. At 65 years old, he was the film's seasoned authority figure, overseeing the pursuit of Frank Dux and grounding the story in government power. His presence reminded audiences that experience can be more commanding than youth. Born Norman Burton Schnall on December 5, 1923, in New York City, he grew up during the Great Depression, shaped by economic instability and wartime tension. He trained at the Actors Studio and built his early reputation on stage before moving into film. His credits included Planet of the Apes, 1968, Diamonds Are Forever, 1971, and The Towering Inferno, establishing him as a respected character actor across major productions. By the time he appeared in Bloodsport, he had already spent decades embodying authority figures and disciplined professionals. His personal life saw both commitment and loss. He married Helen Sloan in 1949, and they had a daughter, Nomi Schnall, before divorcing in 1955. He later married Shirley Evelyn Spitz, and eventually Grace Claire McLaughlin in 1964, a marriage that lasted nearly 4 decades until her death in 2002. Losing Grace after such a long partnership marked a heavy final chapter in his private life, just 1 year before tragedy struck again. On November 29, 2003, while returning from California toward his home in Mexico, Norman Burton was killed in a car accident near Imperial, California, 6 days before what would have been his 81st birthday. The sudden crash ended a career that had spanned theater, television, and cinema. He died at 79 years old, leaving behind his daughter, grandchildren, and extended family. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was around $1 million, earned through decades of steady work rather than fleeting superstardom. Donald Gibb as Ray Jackson. Ray Jackson, the powerful American fighter and loyal friend in Bloodsport, was played by Donald Gibb. At 34 years old, he served as the film's imposing secondary fighter and emotional ally to the main character. That role secured his place in martial arts film history. Born Donald Richard Gibb on August 4, 1954, in New York City and raised in California, he built his early life around competitive sports. He earned scholarships in basketball and football, and briefly had a roster opportunity with the San Diego Chargers before a serious car accident ended his professional athletic hopes. Acting became his new direction, and he gained cult recognition as Ogre in Revenge of the Nerds. In 1981, he married Jacqueline Bauer, and they built a long-lasting family life together, raising one daughter. While continuing roles in television series such as Quantum Leap and The X-Files, he balanced work with family stability. After the peak of his acting years, he shifted focus toward business while maintaining occasional appearances. His association with Trader Todd's in Chicago became central to his later career, turning him from cult movie strongman into local entrepreneur. As of 2026, Donald Gibb is 72 years old. He resides in Chicago, remains connected to his business ventures, and occasionally appears at fan events. His estimated net worth stands at approximately $4 million, earned through acting and entrepreneurship. His athletic dream ended abruptly, but he rebuilt his life with steady determination. Leah Ayres as Janice Kent. Janice Kent, the American journalist who uncovers the brutal underground kumite in Bloodsport, was played by Leah Ayres. At 31 years old, she was the film's investigative reporter and emotional counterbalance to the violence surrounding Frank Dux. Her performance gave the tournament a witness and a conscience. Born Leah Simpson on May 28, 1957, in Baltimore, Maryland, she pursued performance from an early age while balancing academics at Tufts University and later earning a dance degree from New York University. She first drew attention in the cult horror The Burning, 1981, then gained daytime television recognition as Valerie Bryson on The Edge of Night. Yet instead of accelerating deeper into Hollywood, she made a choice that surprised many, stepping away from steady acting momentum to pursue graduate studies, later earning a master's degree in human development in 1996. Her personal life unfolded alongside that shift. After an earlier marriage to Warren Dillaway Ayres Jr. ended in divorce, she married television writer and producer Bruce Kalish on November 10, 1991. Together, they raised their son, Mac Kalish, while building a life increasingly centered on education and healing rather than film sets. Instead of returning to the spotlight, she redirected her career entirely. She became a certified master yoga teacher, a family constellations practitioner, and co-founder, alongside Bruce Kalish, of a trauma and inherited family healing practice in Los Angeles. Her later work focused on socio-emotional education, mindfulness, and children's books, redefining success in quieter but deeply personal ways. In 2026, Leah Ayres is 69 years old. She continues her work in yoga, education, and family healing initiatives, remaining connected to audiences who still remember her role in Bloodsport. Her estimated net worth is around $500,000, accumulated through her acting years and decades of educational and wellness practice. Philip Chan as Captain Chen. Captain Chen, the Hong Kong police officer monitoring the illegal kumite in Bloodsport, was played by Philip Chan. At 43 years old, he was the film's local law authority, navigating between international agents and underground fighters. In 1988, his performance carried a realism rooted in experience rather than performance alone. He understood the uniform he wore. Born Philip Chan Yan Kin on January 25, 1945, in British Hong Kong, he served from 1965 to 1976 in the Royal Hong Kong Police Force, rising to the rank of inspector and earning recognition during major armed robbery cases, including the infamous 1974 Po Sang Bank siege. After resigning, he entered film production and directing, later appearing in action titles like Double Impact and Hard Boiled, while also directing more than a dozen films. Beyond acting, he became a powerful executive in Hong Kong's entertainment industry, leading Capital Artists Company and helping launch major cantopop stars. His transition from uniformed officer to media executive shocked many who remembered him from crime scenes rather than boardrooms. In later years, he reduced his workload to care for his wife, who has experienced cognitive impairment. Even while stepping back from constant production, he remained active through endless idea management and film consultancy projects across Hong Kong and mainland China. His career expanded beyond acting into high-level entertainment management and event production, shaping the industry behind the scenes. In 2026, Philip Chan is 81 years old. He continues overseeing business ventures and selective entertainment projects while prioritizing family. His estimated net worth stands at approximately $5 million, earned from policing, filmmaking, executive leadership, and music production. Roy Chiao, as Tanaka, the disciplined Japanese mentor who trained Frank Dux for the Kumite in Bloodsport, was played by Roy Chiao. At 61 years old, he was the film's master figure, shaping the hero's strength and moral code long before the first fight began. In 1988, his calm authority and measured voice gave the story its emotional foundation. Born Roy Chiao Hung on March 16, 1927, in Shanghai, China, he grew up amid war and political upheaval before relocating to Hong Kong. Educated at an American missionary school, he became fluent in English, Mandarin, Cantonese, Shanghainese, and Japanese. Thanks to them, his screen career flourished through classics like A Touch of Zen, Enter the Dragon, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, earning him the nickname the Lion of Cinema. In 1996, he won the Hong Kong Film Award for Best Actor for Summer Snow. In 1958, he married Seo Kam-chi, and together they built a family rooted in Christian faith. Their bond endured decades of filming schedules and international travel, and in later years he became active in missionary work. The contrast between his commanding cinematic image and his spiritual devotion defined his later years. Health, however, began to close in. He suffered 3 heart attacks before the final one proved fatal. On April 15, 1999, Roy Chiao died of heart disease at 72 years old. The man who once radiated strength in films like Game of Death and Bloodsport was ultimately defeated by his own failing heart, ending a career that spanned more than 90 films. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was around $2 million, accumulated through decades of work in Hong Kong and international cinema. He left behind his wife, children, and a legacy as one of the first Hong Kong actors to bridge East and West on screen. Michel Qissi as Swan Paredes. Swan Paredes, the fierce Kumite fighter who entered the underground tournament in Bloodsport, was played by Michel Qissi. At 26 years old, he was one of the international contenders inside the arena, adding intensity to the brutal competition. That role became the turning point that launched his recognition beyond martial arts circles. Born Mohamed Qissi on September 12, 1962, in Oujda, Morocco, he moved to Brussels as a child and began boxing at 7, becoming an amateur champion by 17. He later trained in Shotokan karate, Muay Thai, and kickboxing, which shaped his transition into film after relocating to Hollywood in 1982 with Van Damme. Following Bloodsport, he gained cult fame as Tong Po in Kickboxer, 1989, a role that cemented his screen identity as a dominant villain and later inspired the look of Goro in Mortal Kombat. His personal life carried turbulence alongside fame. He married Jeanette Qissi, but the relationship ended in divorce during years when his career moved between Hollywood projects and international productions. He reprised Tong Po in Kickboxer 2 and directed Terminator Woman 1993, determined to expand beyond villain roles. Career shifts followed financial pressure and industry changes. He directed and co-wrote Extreme Force in 2001, later returning to Morocco to support local cinema and directing Bara, 2014, in the Sahara Desert. After years of performing and training others, including coaching Van Damme during Cyborg, he co-founded the World Cinematic Combat Federation to teach screen fight choreography. Instead of fading away, he repositioned himself as a mentor, shaping the next generation. In 2026, Michel Qissi is 64 years old. He remains active in martial arts training programs and selective film work. His estimated net worth stands at around $3 million, earned through acting, directing, choreography, and international projects. Pierre Rafini, as Young Frank, the teenage version of the future Kumite champion in Bloodsport, was played by Pierre Rafini. At 18 years old, he carried the responsibility of portraying Frank Dux's formative years in the 1988 film. His scenes established the discipline, rebellion, and emotional drive that shaped the adult fighter. Born reportedly on January 1, 1970, and believed to have European roots, possibly French, Pierre Rafini entered cinema through a single opportunity that would define his public identity. Bloodsport grossed over $11 million worldwide and became a cult classic. But while Jean-Claude Van Damme's fame exploded, Rafini's path did not follow the same trajectory. Unlike many child or teenage performers who transition into long careers, Rafini did not build a prominent filmography beyond Bloodsport. The absence of follow-up roles quietly shifted his life away from Hollywood. Instead of chasing further screen exposure, he stepped into a private, professional life outside the film industry. That sharp turn, from cult cinema to financial institutions, remains one of the most unexpected contrasts linked to the film's legacy. Over time, information surfaced that he relocated to Aruba and worked in the banking sector, reportedly with RBC, a move that surprised fans who remembered him only as Young Frank. His public presence became personal rather than professional, occasionally sharing pride in his daughter's achievements in artistic swimming. In 2026, Pierre Rafini is approximately 56 years old. He is believed to be living in Aruba, working in finance rather than entertainment. His estimated net worth is $500,000, reflecting a life built outside blockbuster fame. Paulo Tocha as Paco, the Muay Thai fighter whose explosive style shook the Kumite in Bloodsport, was played by Paulo Tocha. At 33 years old, he was the film's Muay Thai representative, bringing authentic Thai striking into the tournament. His performance in 1988 introduced many Western viewers to the intensity of elbow and knee combat. That role secured his place in martial arts film history. Born on December 12, 1955, to Portuguese-Italian parents, Paulo Tocha trained at the legendary Sorthanikul camp in Bangkok and became one of the first Western fighters to compete and win in mainland China. His real fight experience opened doors in Asian action cinema before he appeared in Bloodsport. Over time, he accumulated nearly 50 film and stunt credits and later produced the short film Prisoner, which placed fourth at the New York Film Festival among 16,000 entries. Known for performing his own stunts, he sustained serious injuries, including a broken knee in 2009 while filming a commercial directed by Michael Mann. Even after that setback, he continued working in production, consulting, and martial arts promotion. His dedication earned him multiple Siam Awards for contributions to Muay Thai in film and induction into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame with a Lifetime Achievement honor. Rather than stepping away after his peak action years, he transitioned into leadership roles within the sport. He became vice president of the World Muay Thai Council USA and the United States Muay Thai Association, helping organize Lion Fight Muay Thai Championships in California, events that drew some of the highest ratings on AXS TV. In 2026, Paulo Tocha is 71 years old. He remains active as an actor, producer, and Muay Thai promoter. His estimated net worth is around $2 million, built from decades of film work, stunt performance, production, and martial arts leadership. Shun Yin Leong as Mrs. Tanaka, the grieving yet dignified mother who helped shape Frank Dux's training legacy in Bloodsport, was played by Shun Yin Leong. At 59 years old, she embodied quiet strength within the 1988 film's emotional core. Her presence grounded the violent tournament in tradition and family honor. Born Liang Shuzhen on January 7, 1929 in Hong Kong, she grew up during years of political instability and war that reshaped the region. Educated at Belilios Public School, she entered the entertainment world in the late 1950s and built a commanding television career, earning the title Queen of Hong Kong TV. She appeared in productions such as Shuang Xing Ban Yue and Hong Lu Chun Shang Chun, becoming a respected figure whose calm authority translated seamlessly onto screen. She married Liang Shunyan in 1949, and together they built a family with 3 children while balancing demanding careers. Their marriage lasted until his death in 2012, marking more than 6 decades together. Even while raising children, she continued acting steadily, maintaining a presence in Hong Kong cinema and television that spanned generations. In her later years, she endured serious health struggles, including multiple heart complications before ultimately facing cancer. Despite medical battles, she remained a revered elder in the industry, remembered for both her poise and resilience. Her death on August 13, 2019 at 90 years old, came after a prolonged fight with cancer. She left behind an estimated net worth of around $2 million, earned through decades of television and film work. Survived by her children and grandchildren, she remains part of martial arts cinema history. John Chung as Toon Toon, the silver-gray-panted fighter who stepped into the Kumite arena and faced Paco in Bloodsport, was played by John Chung. At 31 years old, he served as one of the tournament's skilled international competitors in the 1988 film. His brief but intense appearance added realism to the brutal second day of combat. Born on July 11, 1957, in Guangdong and raised in Hong Kong, John Chung trained in Nanquan Sanda and multiple traditional styles before entering film. He began as a stunt performer, working on projects linked to martial arts legends, including early stunt involvement connected to Enter the Dragon. His versatility extended even to underwater action choreography, where he designed some of Hong Kong cinema's earliest submerged fight sequences. Unlike many fighters who remained behind the scenes, Chung balanced stunt work with on-screen roles while building a quiet professional network inside the industry. He is the sibling of Wah Chung, and throughout the 1980s and 1990s, he moved between acting, martial arts coordination, and action design without chasing celebrity status. As Hong Kong cinema evolved, his work shifted more toward coordination and selective appearances rather than constant acting roles. His martial arts foundation remained central, influencing both his choreography and mentoring roles in later years. In 2026, John Chung is 69 years old and remains respected within martial arts and stunt circles. He continues to be associated with action choreography and legacy stunt collaborations. His estimated net worth is around $1 million, built through decades of stunt work, choreography, and film appearances. Nearly 4 decades after Bloodsport, 1988, first exploded onto screens, the cast's journeys from then to now in 2026 reveal stories far beyond the kumite. Stories of reinvention, tragedy, quiet survival, and unexpected second acts. Which transformation shocked you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you love deep dives into the untold lives of classic action stars, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories just like this.